Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and move on because with all these coaches here, we have to also ask the questions, who are they going to be coaching? Now, there are a number of players on our squad right now, but we don't know who's going to stay, who's going to go. Free agency is coming up in a couple weeks. Obviously, the draft is in April. Let's go ahead and ask that question. What players will benefit most from these coaching hires? I want to start, and it goes back to the message on the Twitter thing that Jahan Dotson put out after EB, was cut, and you bring in Cliff. Him and Brian Robinson I think Brian Robinson just put two flames, man, and Jahan was super hyped. These are running back room. Like I told you about how the air raid and how he's going to use the running game. That's going to get a major improvement. And our wide receivers. One of the things that I thought we had an issue with last year is that I don't think there was any rhyme or reason to kind of who we went to. It was like, we're throwing it to all these different people. We didn't focus on our clear cut number one on our team, Terry McLaurin, which we can't seem to do. So that's something I want Cliff to do. But also, Jahan, he had a bad year, but we didn't force feed these guys. Curtis Samuels did enough of what he could, but we didn't get our wide receivers and our running backs, our specialists, obviously also our quarterback. I think they are going to benefit the most from these coaching hires because I feel like with all these different coaches, now we're starting to go in a direction, right? And there's one voice that they're listening to. We're all going in this direction. And I think if he wants to keep these guys, I think you got 3 or 4 guys right now with Robinson, keeping maybe Chris Rodriguez for the short yardage, and then Jahan, Terry. I don't know if we're going to re-sign Curtis or whatever. And I'm not even mentioning the North Carolina guy. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Not this year. You have to earn it this year. But I honestly think our specialists on offense will definitely benefit a great deal from this once he gets going. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think you're right because the Jahan Dotson had a sophomore slump, and it was clear that there was eventually became a disconnect between the coaches and him. And I don't think it was wide receiver. He was very happy to have Ingram stick around. And so I don't think it was a wide receiver coach issue, So he had such a promising rookie season that I think he could only, improve. And I mean, I think Nathan said it, he's next. He shouldn't be chirping. Well, this will be his chance to really prove, last year was an aberration because of, lack of a connection. Mm-hmm. The guy that I think is going to benefit the most from this, or has the chance to benefit the most, is Jamin Davis. He's finally going to be coached by folks who value linebackers.
Yeah.
And he's going to be coached by someone like Dan Quinn, who found a way to take an athletic player and say, let me use your strengths. What a concept. He finally is going to be coached by someone like Ken Norton Jr., who said, hey, guess what? I'm in the Hall of Fame. I think he's in the Hall of Fame. Or he was an all-pro linebacker. Yeah. Let me show you how the game's played. Let me show you what you need to do. So for someone who's been a disappointment in his career, I also think you got to admit that he played a position that was not valued by the previous staff. And you have to wonder what type of coaching was he being given. So I hope Jamin reaches his potential by all means. I always root for our guys, and I hope this really helps him out. And I hope he's a very athletic player. Let's utilize that athleticism.
Yes. And you know what? And that's something that I'm looking forward to as well as the linebackers, because now in Ken Norton Jr., you have a guy that was, like you said, an all-pro linebacker. I mean, this guy was a playmaker on defense, on those Dallas defenses, man. One of the key cogs on
and that. 49ers, don't forget. He went to San Francisco. That's right.
He won a championship in San Fran, right? Yeah. And that 94 year, that's right. So he helped turn that defense around as well. And I think for me, that's going to be something that we're gonna be able to focus on because of the fact that Norton and look, Norton is older than Jamin Davis, obviously by some years, but he ain't as old as Jack Del Rio. You know what I mean? Norton can get out there and show you, hey, look, let me show you how this is done, as opposed to Del Rio saying, do it this way. Yeah. But he can't really get out there physically, or we don't know. We don't know, but we just assume so. But that is huge for me. And then obviously, Joe Witt Jr., seeing what he did with Deron Bland, seeing what he did with Trayvon and Quinn and what they did with those guys, our cornerbacks, man, and our secondary. Cam Curl, man. I mean, out of all of the crap that we've dealt with, to have him be as good as he's been on our defense when healthy, I can only imagine what's going to happen when he gets to play a position and not 1, 2, 3, my safety and my nickel corner and my Buffalo. You know what I mean? Like, that I love. And then you mentioned it, Forbes. Forbes, I mean, he's getting ragged on. I've seen memes about him as, biggest flop, bust, blah, blah, blah. But like you said, it was a high school guy coaching this guy that hadn't been. I could have done better than that. And I would have just said backpedal, turn around and run. That would have been better. So this to me these are two key positions that we absolutely need, and we absolutely have not had at least at a high level. Well, we haven't had a linebacker in years, but at a high level at secondary since Smoot. Like, how far do we have to go back to we had
Sean Springs?
Yeah, Springs.
He played well for us, but yeah, no, you're right. Darryl Green.
Right.
Champ Bailey,
right. We got to go all the way back to that. And for me, that's what I'm excited about. I want to see these guys start to elevate our defense with the secondary and the linebackers. Our D-line, I mean, we don't know. We're going to keep those two middle guys, but I feel like we could be fine with them. If we could shut down that back seven, if we could shut down those wide receivers coming out and not get killed by the cross or have these gaping holes by the running game, that to me is something that's paramount and something that we have not had and we need desperately.
Right. Well, you talked about it with our secondary. We don't know who they're going to want to bring in free agency. And one of the reasons I welcomed a guy like a Jordan Lewis from Dallas is because Forbes and St. Juice are unproven as starters, and Kendall Fuller's a free agent. So we don't know who's going to be there. Right. Those guys have to get better than what they've shown. And so, maybe there's a chance with this new coaching staff, they can improve their technique. One thing I was listening to about Dan Quinn that had me a little bit concerned was in Dallas, he played a lot of man coverage. And I was like, that doesn't help Emmanuel Forbes. But the difference being he had his corners play off because they basically said, our defensive line, we're going to put enough pressure where they're going to have to get rid of the ball early, and he allows his corners to jump routes. That is exactly what Forbes did at Mississippi State. He anticipated plays. And so I was like, okay, well maybe that would work. Because if you're just saying you need to be a man corner, well, then just cut him now. Like, let's just move on.
Just we're done.
Yeah. But and it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do, because Cam Curl's a free agent. Because I'm with you. We're like, let him play a position, but we got to figure out, is he someone they want to bring back? We don't really know that yet. So there's a lot of question marks in this defense. Yeah. That's probably our bigger question mark. Like, we know the offensive line sucked last year, but the whole defense sucked last year. Terrible. And we don't have two starting edges right now. So there's a lot of holes in that secondary. So the fact that we've got so much experience as we do, that helps me out. Maybe the coaches can cover up for not having the Jimmies and the Joes with some better X's and O's.
All I know is that until we get better, Ken Norton better fit himself for an outfit.
Yeah,
because we might need to bring him out there. All right,
I'm pretty sure Jason Simmons played it, and he's pretty young. Maybe he can still go.
I'm saying, look, hopefully that's why we brought some of these guys in. Oh, man. But I think you had a great point that, we really don't know. Like, yes, we know kind of maybe the identity that we're going in. We know kind of the tendencies of some of the guys that we have in-house. Speaking of Cliff Kingsbury, the defense, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., things like that. But we still don't know of the roster that we have right now who will still be on the team. We don't know who's getting the pink slip, who's getting cut. It might be guys that we liked. It might be guys that we didn't. And it might just be for monetary value. Who can we cut to save some money on cap, to help bring somebody else in. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who we bring in.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.